Welcome in. We're live here. It's Wednesday night. We're back for another episode of the Extra Point podcast with the college football experience. We're the college football experience. I am Gus. That's Will. That's Cody. Guys, I'm pumped to be back here with another episode. Glad to be here. How are y'all doing?
Man, I'm doing pretty good. I'm excited. We got a pretty good little episode. We got two teams we want to talk about, two highly anticipated teams. Unfortunately, one of them is the Gators' arch rival. But anyways, Cody, how you doing, man?
Doing good, man. Hope y'all are. I think we got one that fans gonna like tonight.
Man, Georgia, Alabama. You either hate them or you love them. I personally hate them both. Hate them both. Hate Georgia just a little bit more because they've been winning, man. So you got to hate them just a little bit more. Man, before we jump in to breaking down what we expect from them in 2023, y'all's team was on fire this past week in recruiting. I'm glad because they're getting recruits away from all these other schools like Georgia, like Alabama, like Ohio State, and all of those other big boys that have been coming in and raiding the state of Florida. But Florida's been able to go out of the state too and get a bunch of recruits. They've jumped way up in all the recruiting rankings. Man, tell me what has happened with the Florida Gators this past week.
Recruiting has just been set on fire. This is what we've been waiting for years. I know this is only June, but we had 9 commitments in 7 days, which is unheard of for any team. I mean, they were just back to back to back to back. I mean, it all started out. We had a quarterback from our 25 class decommit, committed to Ole Miss, and reclassified from the 2023. Austin Simmons. He
Can we take a
committed to
minute
Ole
and talk about
Miss.
that and how stupid that is? Like, this kid is going to be
Yeah.
17 years old suiting up. And I mean, I understand if there's no more that high school ball can offer you, but I mean, he only would have been a junior in high school and he'll easily be the youngest guy. Just think back to when you were 17, how stupid you were. Like, you have no business going to live on a college campus. But he's a handsome young guy. He's an athlete. He's a quarterback on the football team going to Ole Miss. I mean, that's just a world of trouble waiting on him.
Me and Cody were talking about this because there were reports that he was coming to Florida to do this. And me and him both thought it was a terrible idea. My personal opinion, high school football is the last time you can play football where it's not a job.
Exactly.
And you can have fun. And it's just the last time where you can kind of really like enjoy it. I know they probably enjoyed it in college and NFL, but it's just different. Don't think your body's ready physically, and don't think your maturity level is really ready, but it is what it is, man. They've made that decision, so be cool to see what happens in the future for him. Cody, what you think about it?
I mean, I think Billy probably feels the same way. We ain't got no inside source or anybody telling us or whatever, but I feel like Billy probably pushed him the same way and said, hey, look, probably not the best deal, or hey, consider, living out your life and playing high school ball. You only get to do it once. And maybe that turned him away. I don't know. I know this, and I'm not saying this because he left. I feel the same way either way. I think that the move just isn't smart in general, but I think it also shows with the way the recruiting went for Florida how quickly it dropped off, that news. Billy seems to like be a technician with this. Like, we get some bad news, somebody decommits, or maybe a guy has us in the top 3 and he chooses somewhere else. And Billy's always got that guy waiting, and I'm not saying all 9 guys were doing that, but it just seems like the Austin Simmons news sure did fall off quick because it don't matter, man. He gets there. I think people forget that Mertz has 2 years. Like
Yeah.
Mertz is going to be the dude this year, and more than likely he's going to be the dude next year. I mean, you don't want to throw DJ in that type of schedule
Yeah.
for next year. So Austin Simmons to me wasn't more than a body and a guy on the depth chart. So I don't.
Yeah.
It always sucks losing a guy that wants to be a Gator in my eyes. But you know what?
Well,
Jumping 2 classes is kind of iffy in its own.
well, um, I don't really care that a dude decommits. It is what it is, man. If you want to go
Yeah.
somewhere else, then go somewhere else.
Please go.
I just think I find it so funny. We talk about this that like I think Billy's figured out the Gator fans that were kind of crazy, and he has something ready to go when somebody decommits. He has
He's
somebody
so
ready to
strategic.
commit,
Yeah.
and I really think some of this had to do with what Lane Kiffin did on social media. He like attacked us a little bit, like just posted stuff about Tom Petty that he was listening to, won't back down, had that in his car playing. He
I don't
said a
know
few
what
more.
his obsession with Florida is, but
Yeah,
he's pushing the limits, and I think
he.
Billy's trying to show him like, hey, we're still big dogs on this side too, bro.
I mean, we went and got the number one player in Mississippi.
Oh my
I think
Who's
that
going
was
to
a
be a
little,
freaking dog?
yeah, that was a little bit of a
Waller's
jab.
good.
But
Yeah.
man, that was a great Saturday and Sunday. It was fun. But it is only June. I hope we can keep it up, keep a top 3 class going.
blue chip Billy, baby.
Yeah, I hope we
That's
can
going
keep
to be
it going.
huge, man. I mean,
We
depth is huge in the SEC and in football in general. So obviously those rankings aren't going to stay the same, but I'd like to think we'd stay a little bit up there.
Well, I
yeah,
mean, this is why Dan Mullen got fired, but it wasn't because he wasn't winning football games. It's because he wasn't recruiting to the standards, or really didn't care but about recruiting to the
Yeah, and that's a
standards
great point.
that the fans and the boosters really wanted. So, like,
Yeah.
this is why you brought Billy in, to get talent on the roster. And man, just looking at these other recruiting rankings brought to you by On3, one that stands out to me is the Michigan Wolverines at 5. Whenever you've looked at their 2023 class and their 2022 class, they really didn't jump up as high as you think they would have with those 2 back-to-back playoff appearances. So those have kind of been paying off now, because you see they're all the way up at 5, and there's still a lot of time to go.
And they make a
Man,
ton of money, man.
a
And to
ton of
think
money.
like their basketball team's really good, and the programs are big there. So, like you said, I think you would at least expect them to be somewhere near the top 5 range, and it
Mhm.
seems like here recently they haven't been.
Yeah. And I mean,
so with Michigan, I'm excited to see like they're getting these big time recruits, and you've built this culture there. It's a little different when you get these high 3 stars, low 4-star guys, and you bring them in, and they're kind of easier to mold in your culture. What about these really high rated guys that think they're the dude? How are they going to mold
Yeah.
them and get them going in what they've built there? I'm interested to see that, and it's cool seeing Michigan up there with Ohio State. It's about time with recruiting wise. They've recruited pretty good, but they haven't done it like top 5 in the country.
Right. And I mean, one other team that I kind of like to see up there, the Notre Dame Fighting Irish up above. Their 7th. You have LSU at 9th. Those, you have Freeman went to Notre Dame, Brian Kelly went to LSU, and it's even something that I've said is the Notre Dame can't recruit great, and that their recruiting has improved under Marcus Freeman.
I think Freeman is getting them up for sure.
Yeah. Just because I think Brian Kelly wasn't a great fit for Notre Dame. He just kind of saw it as a job, but Freeman kind
I'm
of
not sure
sees
he's a
it.
good fit anywhere. I just think he's a good football coach. He's kind of a
Yeah,
weird
he's a
dude.
really good
Huh?
football coach.
Dude, he's an X and O guys. I mean, LSU can recruit itself. I mean,
Yeah.
Yes.
one of us 3 could go down to LSU and have a top
Yeah.
10.
And
I mean,
that's
you
the
just
kind of guy
recruit
you want there. I mean,
we don't even
you
have
want the
to
X and O guy.
we don't even have to leave our state if we didn't want to. I mean,
Yeah.
because everybody in Louisiana, if you're a top rated recruit, you want to go to LSU, and it's hard to steal a kid away from LSU, man. Notre Dame, dude, gosh, I hope they keep getting better, man. They are such a big brand in college football. It is so good for college football when Notre Dame is good. And,
And they're
when
gonna be
Brian
really
Kelly
good
was
this year.
there, they were like a good team, but they just couldn't compete with the
couldn't get
big
over the hump.
boys.
They
Yeah.
were a top 7 program in college football.
Yeah. Yeah. Just they got to get to where they can compete with,
Georgia,
Michigan, Georgia,
Alabama,
Alabama, Ohio State. Those type of teams, Clemson,
And this
which
year will be a good judge.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because they
Which
have a
they
pretty
beat.
loaded schedule.
Yeah,
Exactly.
they've beaten Clemson recently, but I think Clemson's kind of been a little better program over the past 6 years.
Well, yeah. Man, look at that team on top. Who has a number 1 rated recruiting class as of this moment, the Georgia Bulldogs. Something that we were just talking about, quarterback commit Dylan Raiola transferring from his high school in Arizona to Buford, coming to play ball in the state of Georgia. That's interesting to me. That's
Cody,
really, really interesting.
Tell them about what you just told me.
Tell.
About him playing in 4 different high schools.
Yeah.
So if you don't, I mean, Georgia fans probably know Raiola and how good he is, and I mean that's a good stud to have. It does kind of bring some red flags, in my opinion, that you're playing at 4 different high schools that have been different states. I mean, he's played in Texas, he's played in Arizona. It's easy to say, well, he's playing at Georgia, so he's just, he'll just move right over there. But I think it's a little more to it than that. It seems like reports from 247 are saying that he could have been suspended for 5 games due to transfer stuff in Arizona. So I don't know the backstory on it. I know that KJ Bolden plays there, the number 1 safety, and Georgia's itching to have him. So we'll see how that helps. And then that they got a 25 linebacker that plays there that I'm sure he'll be pulling on as too. But man, if anybody knows, us 3 knows how good Buford is year in and year out. To add a guy like that, man, is going to be huge. And then, of course, with Kirby being right up the road, that's a good sign for Georgia fans.
Yeah, and I'm really looking forward to see him going from high school ball in Arizona to high school ball in Georgia. That's top 4 high school ball in the country. I mean, you have Texas, you have California, Florida, you have Georgia. Can argue that Georgia's top 3, but I would say we might be over California when it comes to high school ball.
I think so, especially quarterbacks. There's been some really good Georgia quarterbacks come out.
Yeah,
dude, it's different here, man. It is different. We can compete with anybody in the country from every classification.
Yeah,
I mean, every state has its select few teams who you can't probably challenge, but we also have those select few teams who you probably can't beat either.
Yeah.
And Buford's one of those teams.
Yeah, Buford, Carrollton,
teams. Valdosta, Lowndes.
Guys, just imagine the Juju and DR competition, man. Can we see that?
Juju, Dylan Raiola.
Oh, dude, if
Carrollton versus Buford in the 7A state championship.
Ooh,
I might have to go to that thing.
Oh, I hope they play in the playoffs, like in Carrollton. That'd be awesome.
Ooh, I am driving up to Carrollton then, dude. Oh,
dude, that ticket will be unreal.
It'll be
3 easy payments of $99.99.
Yeah.
It'll be $20 on the GoFan app.
No doubt,
man. So, kind of talking about Georgia there. What about their 2023 schedule? We've kind of talked about it, but I mean, we're really going to try to break it down tonight. What do we expect from Georgia going into 2023? And I mean, we're all going to say it, cakewalk, but we just got to break it down, starting with UT Martin. Easy. Then you got Ball State that replaced the Oklahoma game because Oklahoma and Texas coming in 2024, that had been a big scheduling issue. Then you kind of got their first real test, South Carolina at home. They beat them in Athens in what was it, 2019?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 2019. Fromm threw like 3 interceptions. That's the only way Georgia's losing in the regular season is if you have Carson Beck just has a stinker.
Well, I want to say this: the first few games is going to really be about filling it out. Obviously, Carson Beck's going to get the first reps, the first quarter. But what about these other 2 quarterbacks? Are they going to come in a lot? Are they going to come in the first half? Are we going to get to see them? Is this really a quarterback competition, or has Carson Beck sealed the deal? Or are we going to see Brock Vandergriff and Gunnar Stockton more and more and kind of let them play it out? That's what I'm interested to see. That'd be the only reason why I'd even watch one of their first 2 games just to see how much the other quarterbacks play.
Yeah.
But South Carolina game, man, I think it's probably going to be a blowout. Unfortunately, it's going to need to be one of those games that the offense just isn't rolling for it to be close. But I see Georgia rolling, man. Cody, what do you think?
I don't know, man. We've hated on Georgia, a lot, and stepping back, looking from the outside, you can only play who you got. I mean,
True.
as the Georgia fans are watching, that's just the schedule you got, and that's I'm sure that as a Georgia fan, they're saying bring on anybody, but realistically, man, you get what you get, and you don't pitch a fit. But the first 2 games, you're not going to see anything. I really don't. You probably won't see anything in South Carolina, honestly. I mean, it's just the team is
They'll
just
be
too
boring.
talented, man.
They'll be
They're
boring
loaded,
games for
and
sure.
the only thing I'm hoping, speaking on South Carolina, is how bad that game went last year for South Carolina.
It went
Maybe just
so ugly, so quick.
maybe Rattler just has a good game and tries to have one of those games he did against Tennessee and be competitive. But the way the defense is loaded, man, like y'all spoke on, it's really just a matter of how much are we going to get to see each quarterback, really.
Dude, and
Well,
Kirby and Shane Beamer, they don't like each other, right?
we
Yeah,
don't
I
know.
mean,
Well, yeah,
We don't know.
yeah.
We're not 100% sure.
But supposedly they
There's a
don't
coach.
necessarily see eye to eye.
There's only one coach that Shane Beamer would fight in the SEC, and we think it might be Kirby or Mike Stoops. We're not sure which one of the 2.
I mean, either or. I mean, I would almost rather fight Stoops than Kirby because Kirby's a little spunky.
Yeah, but Stoops has probably got that man grip. He looks
Old.
like he farms on the weekends when he ain't coaching football.
I mean, so
He's probably got that tough man strength.
I mean, shoot. I honestly wouldn't want to fight either of them. And I mean,
No, me neither.
and I mean,
What-
then we're
We
heading on down to the UAB game, blowout.
no. Yeah.
Then,
good program though. Good program.
dude, I'm so sad that Clark retired there. I'm so sad that
Yeah.
I mean, because he was a phenomenal
Second best
coach
team in
state of
Alabama.
Oh boy.
Hey.
Speaking of
Shout
Alabama,
out Logan.
Speaking of teams in Alabama, Georgia's going to Auburn. Georgia has had Auburn's number since 2005, really. They've kind of owned us, but besides a few years, man, this is Georgia's first losable game, you could say.
I really
Yeah.
wish that game was at night. I know it's not going to be, but I just wish that game was at night.
Yeah, I mean,
Jordan Harris just different at nighttime, man, and I'd like that to play a part,
I'd have to see the weekend schedule, but it that feels like a 3:30 CBS game.
Yeah, that's a 3:30.
yeah, because I mean, Auburn could be 3-1 coming up to this point. 4-0
Yeah.
possibly, depending on what they do versus Texas A&M. But I mean, this is Georgia's first losable game. I'm kind of concerned because Auburn really doesn't have the depth up front to challenge Georgia's offensive line. So it all depends on if Georgia can run the ball on Auburn. And then if Georgia cannot run the ball on Auburn, can Carson Beck push the ball down the field and dice up Auburn's secondary? That's going to be their strength of their defense this year, I think. So, and like I said, I think this is Georgia's first real test. I think this is their first losable game, but I don't think they're losing to Auburn just because of the talent is in their favor, and you have recent history is in their favor too.
Man, we're going to need the Auburn fans to be rowdy in this game. Like,
Super
show
rowdy.
up, be loud, because they're
Hey, it
gonna
don't matter
need
how
it.
rowdy them fans are. That it's a matter of if they can score on that defense. Let's be honest.
Exactly. Can Auburn get decent quarterback play?
And I was going to say, it's going to be Auburn's offense that's going to be the key to the game for this one. Georgia's defense is
100%.
elite. Auburn's going to have to find a way to score, keep the ball in their hand, be able to run the ball, control the clock. Don't let Georgia's offense just control the tempo of the game. And then maybe you can get lucky and get a few turnovers. But again, I see Georgia kind of winning this one. This will be kind of close for a little while, and then Georgia, I think, will kind of take off in the second half, late in the second half, I think.
For sure. Then they come home against Kentucky. I mean, and even then, it's Kentucky. They should blow out Kentucky too.
Yeah, Kentucky, they got a new quarterback transferring from NC State.
Devin Leary.
Yeah, they did a really good job in the transfer portal. I know,
Right.
Gus, you're pretty big on Kentucky in their transfer portal class.
Yes.
Still, this is going to be another game that Georgia should win. I mean, they're better than them in every phase, but they're as long as they show up and play their game, they should be fine in this one.
I mean, is there a game that Georgia really shouldn't win? I think all the games they should win. I think Kentucky could be tricky if it was at Kentucky.
Yeah.
With it being at Georgia, it kind of But I do like Kentucky. They've got some really good young receivers. We kind of spoke on them before, and Devin Leary is going to be a game changer for them. The
kind of solidified the offensive line too, and the portal.
Yeah, I mean, I think Kentucky's going to be a really good team. I'm
worried about Kentucky.
I am too. I don't for Georgia, man. Like Kentucky in the last few years, even as good as they've been, they've struggled offensively as far as being explosive. Right? They slow the ball down. They kind of play bully ball, run it up your throat, kind of down your throat, kind of like
and you
smash mouth type.
You're not
going to bully Georgia. So I think that's where they're going to struggle. They struggled last time they went up there. Like I said, I'd probably feel a little bit better if it was at Kentucky, but with it being in Athens, they're going to be ready.
Struggle busting it just to try to get across the finish line, man. And then I'm afraid this one's going to be a slaughter. Georgia at Vanderbilt.
Vandy slaughtering them, or
I would love to see.
Oh man,
Georgia get slaughtered by Vandy.
I'd fly out and high five Bo for that one.
But I mean,
that'll never happen.
Last time Georgia went to Vanderbilt, it was like 49-0, like at the end of the first quarter.
Dude,
it was
the worst game I've ever seen in my life.
But let's not forget that Georgia kind of plays down on the lower opponents. And that's not a shot at Vandy on how low they are or how good or not. The fact of the matter is they tend to play kind of how their competition's doing. So if Vandy is kind of down, we could get one of those Missouri games like last year, maybe.
Yes.
Did you not hear him just say it was 49-0 at the end of the first quarter?
Yes, but that's going to be every game. I mean, what game is it not going to be 49?
and that was when Derek Mason,
talk about.
that was when Derek Mason was still at Vanderbilt. Really,
true.
The program was really down when he was there, and now they got Clark Lee. Clark Lee's,
and that's one dude you don't want to fight. Is Clark Lee?
I would run away.
He looks a little crazy. He looks a little crazy.
He's the number one guy in this that you don't want to fight.
I would run away.
Mess with him. He looks like they did some scientific experiments on him.
Chews on nails for breakfast.
I probably wouldn't want to fight Saban just because he's so old that he just pull a gun out and shoot me. So
Man,
probably
cross my fingers.
props. Yeah, probably first. All right, Georgia's
The
hardest.
best, the
Georgia's
best game yet. Come on.
Georgia's
Yeah.
hardest opponent, October 21st, the off week. Do you think they can beat the off week? Do you
Can
think
they
they can beat
beat-
the bye week?
Can they beat
the police
themselves?
department?
They get to play their twos. Their twos
Dude.
are probably the second best team in the SEC East.
Have you not heard of Athens PD, man? This is gonna be a tough one.
Dude,
It's
but-
minus 3.5.
dude. Yeah. So I think Georgia's going to take care of the bye week pretty easy. Moving down to Jacksonville, the neutral site game against the Gators. Sorry, guys. But I think Georgia's going to roll.
Yeah,
I
you don't,
mean-
dude. As long as you're supposed to beat Florida, I'm cool with it. It's when we're better than you and you beat us when I don't like it.
Yeah. I mean,
Georgia should roll in this one. I expect it to be a little bit more competitive in the first half than it was last year. Just couldn't get the offense going last year, and Stetson and them jumped on us, man.
yeah.
Kind of expect a little better game, maybe a little like the final score was a little closer to the end of last year. I expect it to be kind of like that. I don't know if they'll score. What did they score on us last year? 42, Cody?
I don't want to talk
Is it
about it, Will. I was
Too
there.
many. Too many. They scored
Yeah.
too many.
I think Georgia will win, dude. Georgia's going to be undefeated after this game. So if for us to beat them, again, it's going to have to be Carson Beck's going to have to give us some gifts, and then Graham Mertz is going to have to play the best game of his life for Georgia to be in any
Florida's-
trouble.
Florida's going to have to play their best. Florida's going to have to play their best game of the season.
Oh,
Yeah,
there's
and
no doubt.
we spoke on this with the Florida breakdown. I think the biggest thing with this one is, well, first off, Kirby hates Florida. That's known.
Oh,
So
he's gonna
he's
wanna
not
run
going to
it
let off the gas. Yeah, this is not one that you can even try to sneak into and say, well, maybe we'll catch him off guard. This is one that he circles every year. He's going to be itching to take this one. I do think he feels better about Billy than Mullen. He at least respects Billy, but I'm curious to see,
damn old.
at least from our side, Will, I think with the defense going to be improved, I do think it will be a better game overall. Now, I'm not saying that, hey, we're in it in fourth quarter. I'm just saying I do think it's going to be a more enjoyable game all around for both teams. I do hope that it is split down the middle like normal, and I hope we find a way to do it. But it's going to be tough as normal.
Man.
Like you said, they're supposed to beat us. So
Kirby has a dude. I promise you he does. He has a dude that watches all the Florida games and breaks down their film, and he has a big binder waiting for Kirby during the off week.
Yep.
Here you go, buddy.
that-
this is
Here's
my
everything you need
notes.
to know about Florida.
yeah.
Yes,
And
this
that's
is
kind
their-
of the good and bad thing is getting that bye week. It's because we get an extra week to prepare, but so do they. So it's gonna.
Yeah.
Hey, dude, it used to
Excellent.
not be like that, and they used to hate it.
Yeah, they changed that.
Yeah, and then they changed it. They cried so
Man.
much they gave them a bye week.
The team that gave Georgia the biggest scare in the regular season, Missouri, coming to Athens. Again, it's the same old song and dance. You should expect to win this game. I mean, don't sleep on Missouri, though. They're some people's dark horse to kind of make some noise in the SEC. But I mean,
Okay, that's better. Yeah.
it's Missouri.
To win,
You should
a couple
thump
games?
Missouri. I mean, you should
I thought he was about to say the East.
no.
Who's saying that?
No.
Oh, doesn't Missouri have a lot of productivity coming back? Isn't it like
yeah,
Mhm.
in
and
the
they got some really
70s?
good. They've got some really good PFF guys, like their D tackle and a couple of linebackers, and
stud linebacker?
one really stud linebacker.
That transferred from Florida.
Gotta have it.
Again, this game, dude, it's in Athens. I don't expect this to be a trap game or anything like that. I think Georgia will take care of business because of what happened last year. Kirby will have them ready to go, saying, "Dude, do not let he might say a few choice words in the locker room for this one.
Tons.
Do not let these guys do what they did to us last year. Let's stomp on their throats." He might say a few other things, but Cody.
Yeah, I think for that reason alone is why this one won't be close. Not because it's in
No hope.
Athens, not because it's Missouri, but because of last year and how close it was. Kirby's going to keep that in his mind and make sure it doesn't happen again. It won't be close.
Man, them when they play Ole Miss the following week, that's kind of a sneak. That's probably their best home game for sure, because you have Kiffin coming into Athens. You already know him and Kirby are friends. He is going to be talking smack, and he is going to come into Athens, and he's going to get his butt whooped.
This is going to be the best offense that Georgia's going to play thus far in the season.
Yes.
It'll be interesting to see how Lane Kiffin and them game plan for Kirby, and his defense. That's going to be the matchup: Lane's offense versus Kirby's defense. Can Lane Kiffin, score some points? We'll be in LSU during this week. I hope we can find some time to maybe catch this game a little bit.
Yeah.
This is one of them sneaky games because you got Tennessee the next week. That Georgia just hopefully they're looking forward to the Tennessee game, and maybe Ole Miss can jump on them in Athens. But this will be a fun one. I think this might be one of those shootouts. Maybe, I don't know. Depends on if Ole Miss's offense shows up.
Yeah. I mean, Ole Miss has got talent, man. Especially on the offensive side of the ball, and who better to call plays than Lane Kiffin? So he's went against some really good defenses. I don't think that scares him by any means. I do think this one is really, really interesting because, like you said, are they looking forward to Tennessee next week, or kind of what is Kiffin's thoughts? Because he's hard to read sometimes, man. Just when you think he's putting all his eggs in Bama, he goes out and is focused on someone else. So we expect Georgia to win every single game. Obviously, it's just this one could be fun, man. I think fans will be rowdy, and I think Lane's gonna want some points here.
Man, but can Ole Miss's defense do anything against Georgia's offense? I mean, Georgia's going to see what happened in the Arkansas game last year and say, we're going to be able to run it down these guys' throats. We have the superior front five of our offensive line. They have no business being able to stop us. So I think we could see Kirby say, like, hey, we're going to keep the ball slow it down, keep the ball out of Kiffin's hands. And I mean, try to have 35, 40 minutes of.
That's always been the problem with Kiffin, though. If he ever gets a really good DC, if Muschamp ever bounces around and goes over there, they might actually have a team.
Yeah.
Well, they got a pretty decent DC. I mean, he came from Bama fans don't really like him, but I think he's okay. They upgraded, I think.
They'll definitely be better. It's hard to be worse.
Yeah.
True.
I mean, you were talking about Georgia's offense versus their defense. Georgia's going to try to run the ball, slow the clock down, control the tempo. And if Lane Kiffin just has 4 plays and goes and scores a touchdown, that's what Kirby wants. Okay, bud.
Please.
You can go score in 4 plays because I'm going to wear your defense out. And we're going to just pound it all the way down the field until we score. And then by the time we get to the fourth quarter, y'all are going to be done.
Yeah. And when you got a guy like Brock where you use him in the run game and the pass game, it's almost inevitable.
It's going to get ugly, I'm afraid, when the Rebels come to Athens. Georgia's biggest game of the year the following week, Georgia at Tennessee. This was Georgia's biggest regular season game last year. It's going to be Georgia's biggest regular season game this year.
Should be.
Should, yes. And, man, Georgia going up to Knoxville, Neyland Stadium is going to be insane. I really wish we could go to this game, but it's just not feasible to go to back-to-back games for us at this point in time. But, man, again, I think Georgia's going to be what? A 14-point favorite? I mean,
depends on how Tennessee's doing at this time, man.
Yeah.
If Tennessee's got 2 losses already, yeah, If
Could
they're
see them up in the
undefeated,
50-point favorites.
Georgia will be maybe a 7-point favorite, maybe. I really hope this game is at night. I hope this is a 7:30 kickoff, something like that. But it seems like it's going to be a 3:30 CBS game. Don't know why they wouldn't pick this game. This might be for the East. Obviously, it just depends on Tennessee how they're doing. You know, they got Alabama, Florida, and a few other teams. How can Milton do? Again, they're going to be playing another air raid offense. Georgia. So really, playing Ole Miss for Tennessee kind of helps him.
Yeah.
Because you're getting ready to play two guys that love to throw the ball and love to spread it out. Tennessee's a little different. They go from sideline to sideline, man.
They
And
stretch out.
here's the difference between every other team that that Tennessee plays. Georgia has linebackers that can cover and can stop the run. So they don't have to load the box on you. They can play man-to-man coverage on the outside, and they can play some really solid defense, whereas Tennessee usually puts some people in a bind with that offense. And they don't put Georgia in a bind, man.
I think with this one, it's obvious to say this is a one that you would point to if Georgia had to lose one. But I do think this is going to be the one, man. If Georgia drops one, it'll be this one. Watch what I say. Only because, you know, you spoke on them playing Ole Miss before it helps Georgia, but I think it more helps Tennessee because they can kind of figure out, you know, what's working and what's not working and kind of play off of that. But the biggest thing being in Neyland, man, they're going to be, you know, you spoke on it. They're going to be crazy wild, and they've already beat Bama. They've already got that monkey off their back. So can we go and beat Georgia? You know, we beat Bama last year. You know, I think if Tennessee is anywhere near one loss or less, they could beat Georgia here. That's not a hater saying that. I mean, they've went crazy the last 2 years, and I get they're back to back, and I get all the talent they have, offense and defense, but Tennessee's on the rise too.
Unlucky at some point.
Well, not just that, but man, you know, we've spoke on it, and yes, Georgia is in a different tier, but realistically, man, Tennessee has D1 guys too, and not every team is going to. Georgia's not going to play their best A1 game every single week. Like, yeah, you're going to beat some of these teams, these UT Martins, because you're Georgia, but Tennessee has some dudes, man, and I think we spoke on it. It goes directly on Milton. Can he be enough for that offense? And Heupel's offense seems like anybody can be thrown in. So if he can do anything like he did last year, you know, overall, I'm not talking about the Georgia Tennessee. I'm talking about overall. Then it's going to be a really interesting game because, you know, they're going to have that in their mind too of last year. Hey, we blew, you know, everything that we wanted was in front of our face last year. They moved us up to 1. Kirby punked us out. Yeah. So, I mean, this is a year that, like I said, you've already got Bama off your back. Georgia's one that if I'm a Tennessee fan, that's the game I want because it's probably for the East, and it's another monkey that I need to get off my back.
Man, and something that a bunch of people forget, Hendon Hooker overthrew 3 wide open guys during that Georgia game. I mean, they had beaten the cornerbacks. They were walking into the end zone, and he overthrew them. So they can beat that secondary. Just can the quarterback deliver?
Yeah,
man, they're going to have
on losable games. I think that's a losable one.
Tennessee's going to have things go their way for them to win. I mean, essentially, this is them games back to back. Ole Miss, Tennessee. Those are the 2 biggest games for Georgia. I think those are the 2 big challengers. Tennessee is the biggest challenger, I think, in this schedule. But man, it stinks that it takes all the way to get to November for them to have like this type of magnitude of a game where you feel like it's huge, you know?
Well, it'd be great if, like you said, if they're both if this is for the East, it's gonna be massive.
Yeah, this it'd be awesome if those are for the East, but I still think Tennessee will show up regardless if it's not for the East. If the East is already settled, Tennessee will show up, be loud, be ready to go. And what a better way to end your season than to beat Georgia, you know?
Yeah. I mean, Georgia's final regular season game at Georgia Tech. My college football hot take
You
is that Georgia Tech should no longer be played.
get
Sleeper.
out of here.
Georgia Tech,
No
in
chance.
my opinion, there's always a chance, but it's like 0.0000001%.
I don't see it.
Yeah, man. So I think Georgia's going 12-0. They might go 11-1, but I think the safe bet's 12-0.
Yeah.
The bad thing is they're probably going to be better this year than they were last, and they were better last year than they were the year before. So if that trend continues, man, they're going to be one massive team to be reckoned with.
Yeah, man. And one team that I hope gets to meet them in the SEC 12. I don't hope that this team makes the SEC championship game, but who I think will be the best contender is the Alabama Crimson Tide. Gonna break down their schedule coming up. RTR, Roll Tide,
Roll Tide, baby.
Man, they had a little underwhelming 2022 going into 2023. I mean, they just weren't. They didn't have that same kind of
It factor.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. I mean, they just struggled on the road. They struggled in a couple games at home. I think it was the Bill O'Brien system. I think it was they just had their young at receiver. I mean, they had Bryce Young, they had Will Anderson, 2 top 3 picks in the NFL draft, and they went 10-2. They lost on 2 plays at the end of the game, but they still lost. I mean, what do y'all expect of Bama in 23?
I expect them to be improved at all the other positions but the quarterback position.
That's a big
It's kind
question.
of hard. Yeah, it's kind of hard to improve at the quarterback position. I mean, Bryce Young was incredible. I mean, it's no jab to the guys they got. None of them are Bryce Young.
Right.
I think the team is going to be better. I've seen reports and stuff that Nick Saban wants to get back to the way they were, ground and pound, play action pass. So if they can kind of get back to bully ball, I guess kind of get to the way that Georgia plays.
Mhm.
I think they'll be just fine. They have a way better schedule than Georgia has. At least it's a little funner. But Cody, man, what you think about the Alabama Crimson Tide this year?
Roll Tide.
I think Alabama is extremely interesting. So, we hate on Bama, and as fans of other SEC teams, obviously we're going to. But I think Bama's interesting, man. They people talk about how bad or how down Bama was, man, and it's like, dude, they're 24-4 in the last 2 seasons. So a lot of teams would give up to have that. They still got the best coach of all time out there. It really does suck as an outsider and as a college football fan that Bryce Young and Will Anderson just didn't get it done last year. I think the biggest thing with Bama overall was, Gus spoke on the receivers being young, but I think the lines were the biggest thing. The
Mhm.
OL and DL just were not typical Bama, just mean green type dudes, and I think that really hindered them. And you they get rid of Bill O'Brien, like you said, and they bring in Kevin Steele for Pete Golden. I think he'll be, he'll be really good. Tommy Reese. Um, I've said it previously. I think Bama is the team that comes out in the West, even with the schedule that they do face, because Saban's used to that type of thing. So I expect Bama's defense to be really improved, and I expect them to get back on track as far as Bama fans feel.
Well, what helps is their home games their big games are at home. And they
That's
don't really lose at
exactly what
home.
that's what I was going to talk about. You have the Middle Tennessee game at home. Chalk it up. Texas,
the biggest game.
Texas, massive game. Going to be a night game, 7:00. Going to be huge. I think this is going to be a massive game for Alabama to kind of like a little litmus test to say like, hey, are they ready for this schedule that they got coming up? Because I don't want to say Texas is back, but Texas might be back.
This will be a game that we'll see, for both teams. But if we're looking at the Alabama perspective, can they come out and hit Texas in the mouth? Because Texas last year came out and hit them in the mouth.
Hard.
And if it wasn't for an injury, we don't know what would happen in that game. So can Alabama come out with whatever quarterbacks out there, run the ball, hit Texas defense in the mouth, and control the clock and control this game, regardless of what Texas offense does? That'll be interesting to me, man. This is going to be probably this is definitely their biggest game in the first month. So it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, so obviously Bama's schedule is tougher than Georgia's, comparing the two. They've got some heavy hitters, and Texas ain't no joke, man. I mean, most Bama fans know because of last year, but I think if you really follow Texas closely, they're building that roster really strong.
They've been loading
Sarkisian
up
knows
on
what he's
talent.
doing. I want to say it's going to be, same way as last year, man. It's going to be down to the wire, like back and forth. But the biggest thing with this one is you're going to find out. People like to say, "Oh, Saban and Bama's falling off. They're no longer the dynasty's broken." This, that, and other. You're going to find out this game. Here
You're
it is.
100% going to find out.
This is it. You'll know from this game how the rest of the year is going to go.
Mm-hmm.
I think if it's close and they lose a close one, like a crazy ending, I wouldn't say it's done. But now if Texas comes in there.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying you'll know. Hey, are we still Bama? Because if Texas comes in here and walks a dog somehow, Bama fans got to be scared considering they still some of the teams that are on the schedule.
Yeah. I mean, you still got everything in front of you if Texas does somehow come in and win. But you definitely need to be competitive. You don't want to get blown out. But I don't see them getting blown out by any means.
I think we all know Saban's preparing for this game the whole offseason. It's not.
Oh, yes.
They're not looking at Middle Tennessee. I think we all
No,
know.
they are preparing for Texas. And then when Alabama maybe takes care of the Longhorns, they go down South Florida, cakewalk. Really weird game, but I mean, everyone expects Bama to win that game. Then you got Lane and Ole Miss coming to Alabama. We all remember what happened in 2021. Grabbed popcorn.
Yeah, and it was a butt
whooping.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think that Saban will want to beat Lane just because of the relationship that they have. So I'm chalking that one up as a W for Bama.
Yeah, same for me, man. I think Lane Kiffin does want to beat Alabama really bad. But I also think Saban and them, they'll know who their quarterback is by this time.
Mm-hmm.
They'll be rolling. They'll really starting the grind of their schedule. I just expect Bama to be able to just run all over Ole Miss's defense. Unless Ole Miss's defense somehow improves drastically, I just don't see this being very. It will be competitive and it'll be kind of close, but I just don't see Ole Miss pulling this one out.
For me, the biggest thing with Ole Miss is you look at Lane and you look at Saban, and they're two completely different guys all around. They're two completely different guys on the field and off the field. Lane lives by, do or die type plays, going for it on fourth down. Saban sits back and kind of lets you beat yourself. He's going to wait for you to make the mistake. We're not making the mistake. You're going to make the mistake. And that's why he continues to beat him, because Lane is he rolls the dice too many times, I feel like. And you spoke on the defense. I think it'll be improved, but not improved enough to finally get that dub over Bama like he wants.
Man. And then they play the other Mississippi school. They play at Mississippi State. Alabama has dominated Mississippi State. I don't think there's any real reason to break down this game much. Alabama's completely dominate them. They are going to dominate them. I mean, anything can happen, kind of like I've been saying, but I mean, there's not much to break down here. Then they go to Texas A&M. And I mean, we all know the history that's been between these two teams. Can Alabama go get revenge on Texas A&M at Kyle Field where they lost in 2021? I think they can, but I think this is going to be one of Alabama's toughest games just because of the talent that Texas A&M has, and we don't know what Texas A&M will be with new offensive coordinator Bobby Petrino taking the reins of the offense, hopefully from Jimbo Fisher.
This one will be interesting. This game's always usually circled on everybody's calendars. Just a fun one to watch because of the history between the two. They've kind of become a rival, honestly. Ever since kind of Johnny Manziel came in there and beat them. Again, I'm gonna have to wait and see what Texas A&M's offense looks like. I just have no idea what it'll be under Bobby Petrino. Can Texas A&M find that quarterback that can play consistently? Because they have playmakers. We know they have talent, man. They got a bunch of talent over there. But can they put it all together and play some really good ball? This will be the 8 o'clock CBS game, if I'm not mistaken. No, it's not. Okay.
No.
Well, this would probably be a 3:30 CBS game, I would guess. I'm shocked this one is in the 8 o'clock one. Oh, the LSU Bama one's 8 o'clock one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. As of right now, if I was looking at it right now, I expect Bama to go into A&M and win a close one. Expect the Aggies to be rowdy, but I think Bama will come in there and roll on them.
Yeah, so just like I spoke on Tennessee on Georgia, previously being that almost trap game that they could lose. I think this is one that Bama could drop.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, we don't know what A&M is going to look like, but if they live up to any type of potential that they have, it's going to be dangerous. That I say that because of what we talked about. Texas, they're already preparing for. Ole Miss, Lane just can't find a way to beat Saban. But A&M is going to be different. The way him and Jimbo are kind of rubbing against each other. They started off playing basketball with each other, and now it seems like they kind of don't like each other. So I think Jimbo's going to throw a lot at this one, and it could. If I had to pick a game, this is one that I'd say might be an upset.
Yeah, just because the way Alabama the past few years has played on the road, they've played awful. I mean,
Yeah.
they've played absolutely terrible on the road. So it's their second road game in a row. So I mean, could kind of
it could get tricky.
Just a little funk, yeah. And then they come home and they play Arkansas. I mean, that is their homecoming game. I think this one could be sneaky just because it's the week before Tennessee. You're coming off of the Texas A&M game, really tough roster to play. You could be kind of beat up at this point, and it's sandwiched in between two of your four biggest games, two of your five biggest games of the season. So kind of a trap game to me, but it's in Bryant-Denny Stadium. Alabama, tough to beat at Alabama. So, I mean, that's the only thing that concerns me with this game is that it's sandwiched in between those two really, really, really big games.
Yeah, I Texas A&M game's probably gonna be really physical. Gosh, if this is like a noon game, man, Alabama might wake up sleepy. I could see this being one of those two, guys. I kind of agree with you. If KJ's healthy coming into this game, how's he playing?
Mm-hmm.
Or is Alabama looking ahead to Tennessee? I don't think Nick Saban would let them do that. I think he, kind of keeps them a week by week team. What's the health looking like for Alabama at this point? Because you've played some pretty tough teams.
Yeah.
It hasn't been an easy schedule. What's the quarterback play looking like? Things that we can't answer right now. But are they down to one quarterback? Or are we still at two? I mean, I don't know. This will be a game fun to see. Alabama is better than Arkansas, but you never know on any given Saturday. Cody, what you got, man?
I actually disagree with both of you. I think this will be a blowout.
A smackdown,
Smack it
I
down.
think this
a
one's going to
hog
be
roasting.
over by halftime.
Oof. I mean,
Man.
it could be. Yeah.
It could, yeah. I mean, I can see it go either way. I mean,
Well, here's the thing: is
dominated
the
Arkansas, honestly.
well, the biggest thing is going to be how do they play at A&M. Obviously, if they
Right.
lose, then Saban's going to want some tail. So
yeah.
if they win, they're going to want to keep momentum. And I just think Arkansas is good; they're not great. So defense will be improved. KJ is great, but I think Saban's going to roll them.
Heading on down to the Tennessee game. It's at Alabama this year. Everyone knows.
Revenge.
Everyone knows what happened in this game last year. Alabama is going. Do y'all remember in 2019 when LSU came into Alabama and they beat Alabama, and then in 2020 Alabama went down to LSU and they showed no mercy. That's
It's
what
hard to beat Saban twice, man.
That's what Alabama's gonna want to do to Tennessee this year. They are going to want to paint the walls of Bryant-Denny Stadium with the blood of Tennessee. That's extremely gruesome, but this is a gruesome game, and that's what Alabama's going to want to do. They are going to want to leave no doubt. Leave no doubt, like the coach and remember the Titans. Leave no doubt. That's what Alabama's going to want to do.
Yeah, it just depends on how I think what type of offensive philosophy is Alabama going to be this year. You know, don't try to come out and do something that you haven't been doing just because you want to score a lot of points. Man, if you're a run first team, then run first. Control the tempo of this game and beat them up. And you might not put 50 on them, but you know, if you beat them by at least 3 scores, you know, you can put it on them. But I do agree with you, Gus. I think this will be like they will try to beat them to death. But
I specifically think they're going to want to shut that offense down. They are going to want that secondary to put the grips on and like just make Tennessee look stupid.
Yeah, I agree with you. I would hate to play Nick Saban after I beat him the year before because, again, like how we said, Kirby will have somebody watching the Florida games. I promise you, somebody will have watched the Tennessee games, and they will be preparing for Tennessee. They might prepare for them a little bit during the Arkansas week just to be ready to go. But you just – I don't think Tennessee's going to win this one, man. I think we're going to see some revenge, and Alabama's going to roll on this one.
Yeah, and let's not forget the history, man. That's a rivalry, but Bama has just kind of
dominated
recently. And last year is great. They got over the hump. Tennessee found a way to win. But let's remember, it wouldn't just Tennessee didn't just come out there and smack them around. They had a tough time. So
Alabama could have won that game, man.
Yeah, so I think I agree with both of you. I think he's going to want some revenge, and I don't see Bama losing this one.
And then Alabama goes into the off week, and then again another revenge game. The LSU Tigers coming in to Tuscaloosa. This is going to be a fun game. This is the 1-2 team in the SEC West. This is what I think's going to be for the SEC West. Probably, we don't know, but I mean that's just what I'm assuming. This is going to be a night game. This is a CBS doubleheader, 8 p.m. They've already come out and they've already given like the time slots and said on the 4th of November, that's when the 8 p.m. game is going to be. And this is the only SEC game that week that fits that bill. So, I mean, I don't know what to think of this game. I really don't. I have no clue. None whatsoever.
This is another revenge game. Obviously, I hope Alabama beats them up, dude. Beats them up. Just because we're going to get to see LSU the next week. So I hope Alabama runs all over them. I hope they sack Jaden Daniels like 8 times. I don't know what to expect either of this game, to be honest with you. I think Alabama, we got another revenge game. I could see Bama winning this one, but it being a close game, just kind of like last year. But Alabama's going to take advantage of some of the mistakes that they made last year a little bit. Um, Going into Tuscaloosa is hard to win, man. We just hadn't seen it a lot. I think that LSU team was the last team that came in and won, the one you just mentioned, the 2019. They didn't
believe
lose, and they just don't lose. Saban just don't lose a lot at home. Expect this one to be a little close. This will probably be for the West. This will be fun to watch, but expect Alabama to roll in this one, and then probably maybe seal the deal the West right here. Depends on how the other teams are doing.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I think it's really going to rely on LSU and how their season's going, because let's not forget they've got some some tough games ahead too.
Yeah.
So I don't see LSU winning this one. I don't think it will be for the West, but it will be one of those, typical LSU Bama games that we've seen knockout dragouts where, almost falling asleep on offense type deal. Who can
Yeah.
run the ball? I think, LSU's talented, man. Bama's talented. By this time, they'll know who the quarterback is. Hopefully, he's doing well. I think Bama's got more edge about him, though.
I would love for LSU to win this game simply because we're going to Baton Rouge the following week, and I would love for them to be coming off a
I don't.
high of the Alabama victory. In
Yeah,
that,
dude. I
and
don't know.
I mean,
I'd
think,
rather
Teddy,
them
you'd
win
rather- yeah, you'd rather them win than lose.
than be pissed off. Yeah, when we get there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Plus,
Be a little
like
cocky.
the
Well, I
the
just
team
don't
could
like
be
LSU like
hungover,
that, so.
but I don't think the crowd the following week is going to be hungover if LSU beats Alabama on November 4th. November 11th at Kentucky could be kind of a hangover game, but Alabama should thump Kentucky because they're Alabama and that's Kentucky. That's just the way it is. Chattanooga, easy game. Man, and then
This
we
is
got
the sneaky
Iron
one
Bowl.
right here.
We got the Iron Bowl. It all depends on
How
Auburn.
good is Auburn? Yep.
Yeah.
Kind of what we said when we did the Auburn breakdown, man. When Auburn's good, when Auburn's a 9-3 team or better, they don't lose to Alabama at home. It simply doesn't happen. So if Auburn's good, I think they could beat Alabama. But if Auburn's 6-6, 7-5, you can wrap it up, send it to the bank. We ain't beating Alabama.
Well, this is going to be a sneaky one. This is going to be the toughest away game that Alabama has. Auburn, Auburn's going to be rowdy.
A&M, sir.
Well,
That's why I said possibly.
Well, I mean, you just never know with Texas A&M's crowd, but Auburn is always pretty
102,000.
rowdy, especially the Iron Bowl
The Iron
weekend.
Bowl? Yeah.
I mean, it is going to be crazy. Again, this is going to be based off Auburn. How good are they? Is Alabama the better team? Yes, they are the better team. But you never know. This is one of those games. It's a sneaky game for Alabama. Is it for to win the West? Have they already sealed it up? You know, if they sealed it up, are they looking ahead to Georgia? You know, this will be one of those games you definitely don't want to slip up on and then have to go in and you have to beat Georgia to get into the playoff.
Yeah.
So this will be an interesting game for sure for Alabama.
I'm super excited that we're going to be there.
Best rivalry in college football.
No
Obviously,
doubt.
it's better when Auburn's good, but
Mhm.
I don't think they'll struggle with this one.
No, man. I think that the Alabama schedule is just fascinating because they have so many games that they could lose. They are kind of spread out though. So I think that you would say the floor for Alabama is what? 9-3?
I think 10-2.
I think 10-2 is more realistic.
Yeah. And I mean, your ceiling with Bama's obviously 12-0, but I think that your more realistic is 10-2 to 11-1. Just like we've been touching on with all these games, we don't know what the quarterback situation is going to be, man.
Yeah, that Texas game week 2, dude, is going to be. I mean, you kind of need a guy. You don't want to be rotating a bunch of them, man. Because like
I
you'll
don't
get one.
I don't think they're going to.
You'll get
Milrow's not a scrub though. I mean, he is a dude. It's just a matter of can they use him right.
Yeah.
I
You know,
think
like
if
we
they
were talking
use him
before.
like they did with Jalen Hurts his first
Yeah,
year, if they can
they
use
use
him
him like
like
Hurts,
that,
and
yeah, they'll be fine.
Man, but I'm really, really excited to see what this season holds. And man, I'm really glad that we got to break all this down with y'all. Man,
Georgia
if
fans
y'all
can stop crying now.
I'm
We broke
crying
the
that we
team
ain't
down.
broken down your team.
Now they're gonna
Goodness
say we
gracious.
didn't get our own show. Well, yeah, in a
We had to split
30-minute
a show
show,
with
it'd have been
Bama.
20 minutes.
Yeah, WWWW.
Yeah,
We had to split a show with Bama. Well, that's
yeah.
too bad.
I do
Man.
hope we get to see them two play though. That would be intense.
Well, one of
Yeah.
y'all sponsor the team. One of y'all give us some sponsorship money. We'll have a whole show about Georgia. We'll talk about everything. Georgia.
Yeah. This will become a Georgia pod.
I'm out.
Yeah, I won't have it bad.
Man, I've had a blast here with y'all tonight. If all of y'all would subscribe to us on our YouTube channel, College Football Experience, we're going to be putting some fantastic content out this fall once the games get rolling. You also can watch the podcast there live, or you can watch the replay there. You can listen to us on Spotify and on Apple Podcasts. The podcast is up the next morning. And follow us on TikTok. Follow us on Instagram. We're posting lots of content there too. Like and share and subscribe. Will, Cody, I had a blast with y'all tonight. Any last words before we bounce?
We are officially going to Ohio State.
We bought the tickets, baby.
Yeah, we bought our tickets.
October 21st.
Yeah, went on SeatGeek and got us some tickets. So we're excited. We're excited about that. We're on the list to get LSU tickets. So we pretty much got everything wrapped up.
Yeah, we got our Iron Bowl tickets.
Yeah,
we're ready
man.
to go, man.
I'm excited, dude.
It's gonna be fun.
Man, that's why we did this is for what we're gonna be doing in the fall. We're excited to see what we can put together for everybody.
Yeah, man. Those campus videos are gonna be awesome, and I can't wait to get there, film them, and get them out, because it's just been a dream of ours forever. But kind of like I hit on, like, share, and subscribe, and we will be back next week with another installment of the Extra Points podcast with the College Football Experience. We are the College Football Experience, and we will see y'all later. Peace.
Peace.